ooh, ooh. There were poems that made me, that excited me, but I never, when I first started reading poetry, I never thought, oh, I can do that. I thought, that's miraculous. I read a lot of the Bible as a kid, and I think that really set me up for being a poet. The Bible uses the earth as metaphor to describe what's going on inside people. It's the great environmental book, I reckon. And so everything has to be translated through images and imagery. And that's how I learned to understand what was happening in the world around me. I don't believe in any God, but it's a great book. And I sort of had it drilled into me in a sort of Jeanette Winterson's Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit way. So I understood the world through being able to translate images. Everything that was connected to the Bible, so there was The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was in there. You know, a lot of famous 5 books as a kid. But it was mainly books on books of the Bible, so I'd be reading about books on the Romans, and what have you. So I think that's where it came from, actually. I wanted to predict what I would be like when I was 16, when I was 13. And I knew that I would be very different at 16 than I was when I was 13. And so I wanted to say what I would be like. And it happened. I became what I said, what I predicted in the poem, I became. Quieter. Just a lot quieter. You can start with any of those things, really. Just like we all do. You know, I think that people think in images. I think people think in poetry and speak in inadequate sentences. And the more you need to translate the way that you think, the way that you actually see the world, the more you feel the need to write poetry, which is why people do it when somebody's died and they need a bridge between the physical world and the spiritual. You know, the more you need to express how you feel and what is happening, the more you turn to poetry. Deaths, births, marriages, all of the important times where people need to translate their feelings as well as their actual position, poetry raises its head. I haven't written for too long, and it's like magic writing. You have to write to write. You can't talk about it. All my articulating it here is wasted when it comes down to the act. The act of writing is everything. Everybody's got a story, writers write it. So the ideal world would be to write every single day for 10 to 15 minutes, like playing an instrument, you know, keeping yourself supple and subtle. That's what it is to be a writer, I think. I don't do that. If I'm commissioned, I write. Oh, so bad. But I have a need to write. I should write every day because it's liberating, personally liberating. When I don't write, I become sort of closed, less agile.